We are one family that share one goal, one opportunity at a time. We are One Eastern.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All in Autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
I'm David C. Chavis, personal injury attorney. For over 4 decades, our law firm has remained steadfast in our commitment to serving the remarkable people of New Mexico that have been injured through no fault of their own. I'm a New Mexican fighting for New Mexicans. I received my bachelor's degree at NMSU and earned my law degree at UNM. I can proudly say I'm both an Aggie and a Lobo. Call now and I will meet with you. 40 years strong, and we're still as local as red and green.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action.
Now is the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the sports animal. Here's Jeff Zimbietta and JJ Buck.
The future. You have to be looking ahead all the time. What can you do? Can you do multiple things at once? All these conversations that we have regarding sports, entertainment in the state of New Mexico, what does the future hold? There was some big news yesterday in regards to the future for New Mexico United. The stadium project will move forward at Balloon Fiesta Park. On Monday, a judge ruled that opponents of the Balloon Fiesta Park location failed to demonstrate that they were denied due process. And that's the 3 neighborhoods around Balloon Fiesta Park that were opposed to United going in there and building their stadium. So as that project moves forward, you have a bit of a revamp of Balloon Fiesta Park and what's going to happen in that area. We know UNM. Was it 2 weeks ago? Or last week, I can't remember when I think I was out of town when it happened.
That's a very, very good viable reason.
Announced the project where they're moving forward now, and they're going to build the shopping center / entertainment / restaurant area.
That's not the duck pond news, is it?
No, not the duck pond news. Duck pond's fine. Get over it.
Okay.
It's a duck pond. So relax and look at ducks. But down there at Avenida Cesar Chavez and University, they bought out that old Motel 8, tore it down. They got out of that space, Lobo Village, all that land, and they're going to start moving forward. And they have tenants scheduled to come in. I think that's where an In-N-Out Burger is going to be. So you got Isotopes Park, the Pit, University Stadium, baseball, softball, tennis complex, all over there. You're starting to build that up. There's plans in place moving forward to invest in that area.
They're going to need a helicopter pad over there for how busy the traffic's going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be busy, but that's what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Especially on football game days, where not everyone is into tailgating, but you want to get people into the area. You want to have restaurants, places people can hang out, and then go to a game. That's what's going to happen. Weekend at basketball game, before or after, more things to do in the area. Yes, traffic is a thing. If you're going to have events, there's going to be traffic. If you're going to live in most places in America where things are going on, there's going to be traffic. So if that's your ultimate thing of why nothing can happen, well, I'm sorry. There's not much we can do unless you can afford a helicopter. as
yeah,
they just said.
you got two types of people: either the ones who don't go because of the traffic, or they'll leave a good game early to miss the traffic.
We don't like getting stuck in traffic, but if you're going to go to events, there's going to be traffic. Now you hope there's good flow, plenty of parking, etc. But the future of sports, or the future of sports entertainment in New Mexico, has taken a huge step forward over the last couple of weeks, with UNM announcing their plans to renovate that area, bring in shops and restaurants, with New Mexico United now getting the official clearance to move forward with their stadium at Balloon Fiesta Park. And they're looking at an 8,000 to 10,000 seat stadium. The infrastructure is being provided by the city, so they're still getting their help with the lease and the city investing in the area. And of course, it makes sense for the city to invest in Balloon Fiesta Park with, what is it? It's for the Balloon Fiesta as well. Hold a ton of concerts there. Now there's going to be a soccer stadium there, but no city funding is going into the stadium. This has been something that they've been working for a while. And that first proposal, the downtown location with that bond fund that was just stuffed on the ballot late in 2021, there is a reason people shot that down quickly.
So 8 to 10,000. I'm trying to roughly estimate in my head. How many seats is an Isotope Park, do you think?
Seating wise, it's over. I don't know the exact number. I know it's over 10,000.
Over 10,000. Okay, so it'll be a little bit bigger.
But with the berm,
yeah,
the capacity can get up to 13, 14,000, maybe even 15,000. But so this is going to be 8 to 10,000 seat stadium, which for USL Championship is a very sizable stadium.
Yeah. You were also about spot on with your estimate there.
Yeah. With the success of United so far, them being able to move forward on their stadium project. Well, one of the things we're going to talk about this morning is the future of sports in New Mexico. We're going to look at what UNM is trying to do to invest in that area, bring in, of course, more revenue, because it is about revenue generation. It's entertainment and revenue generation. How do you stay alive in college athletics? How do you stay alive as a minor league team? AA hockey is going to anchor the Rio Rancho Event Center starting next fall. With a team coming in there, they're going to try to ignite the city of Rio Rancho. The Gladiators have new ownership. They're looking at bringing that back. So you have the entertainment, you have the collegiate athletics, and the revenue of it all. But now we have a stadium for United that's moving forward. The entertainment district for UNM. And then also looking at UNM and New Mexico State in this conversation with the future of college athletics. It's always been about the money, but it's even more so about the money when you have to pay the players and generate that revenue and continue the investments and continue to get people buying in, continue to win money. But as a sports fan in the state of New Mexico, what do you want to see? Where is that investment going to come from? Because right now, this is what states, cities do, multiple things at once. UNM has their projects pushing forward, United pushing forward. And that's always the battle in the state of New Mexico, is when you might not like something or something is not for you, you point at something else. And you say, well, why are you doing this when all this stuff needs to be fixed over here? Why are you doing this when all this stuff isn't safe? Understandable. But this is about sports and entertainment. This is about quality of life events. All those other things shouldn't be ignored, absolutely. But you can do multiple things at once. And over the last couple weeks, some big time projects are in motion. So I want to hear what you have to say this morning. 505-246-0610. The text line is still in migration. So you're going to have to hit us up on Twitter _JJ Buck or email jj@sportsanimalabq.com. The future of sports in New Mexico. We're going to dive into that big picture. We're going to look at college athletics, what New Mexico and New Mexico State can try to do moving forward to compete with their peers, to put their programs in the best possible place to succeed. But where is that revenue going to come from? Where is that investment going to come from? If it's not just donors, does the state potentially need to look at investing more in college athletics with the changes we have seen over the last few years when it comes to stadium? And not just necessarily about investing so you can pay the players, but do you need to focus on investing in where these players are playing, training, etc.
Yeah, and help me out here, JJ. I mean, concept-wise, would UNLV have as much money as they have if Vegas didn't have so many events? Like, is there any type of correlation there? I feel like there has to be.
Well, in state money, what's coming into UNLV, what's going into Nevada, it's a similar conversation, New Mexico versus New Mexico State. Like, it's not just because UNLV is in Las Vegas, they'd be getting more money. It still needs to be allocated through the state and things like that. But
it helps.
Are you able to draw in more because of the market? Yeah, absolutely. That's a conversation when you look at Las Vegas. So these are the things we're going to be looking at this morning, because it's a topic I really wanted to dive into. When the United Stadium news came down, when the judge ruled yesterday that the 3 neighborhood associations that were opposing this stadium moving forward at Balloon Fiesta Park were not denied due process, and thus the project can move forward. All right, that's 2 really big projects surrounding athletics that are now moving forward. And then we take a step back just as a sports fan, and you look at the state and what you have at Division I athletics at the highest level with New Mexico State, and then the entertainment aspect of it, the Gladiators, the AA hockey team in Rio Rancho. As a sports fan, how are you feeling about the future of sports in New Mexico? And there's multiple ways we're going to dive into this morning. We'll talk with Jeff Grammer coming up at 8:15. He's going to hang out with us, and I'm going to get his thoughts on where this goes, what direction maybe the state goes when we've seen more people propose, putting more money towards athletics from the state level. The NIL bill, but then it just turned into a bill for student athletes, but then the infrastructure part of it for the Aggies and Lobos when it comes to football stadiums and athletics. What's a fair number to ask from the state versus what these athletic departments continue to have to do to just generate revenue, not only to just survive, but then pay the student athletes with the new revenue sharing model that is in effect, and just the sports entertainment aspect of it. What do you want as a sports fan? What kind of events throughout the season do you want to have? Right now with United and Isotopes, summer season, got your baseball, got your soccer, and then the Gladiators come back. Interested in that. Coming back to Albuquerque, AA hockey around the corner next fall. That really is a Rio Rancho conversation, and then it branches out to Albuquerque, because that organization is going to have to ignite the city of Rio Rancho to be their base, and then can you at times draw in from Albuquerque? It really is a fascinating time when it feels like so many things could not happen, when there were so many obstacles for things to get done. That's some big time projects announced over the last couple of weeks focused on just athletics or the entertainment business aspects surrounding athletics. So 505-246-0610 is the phone number this morning. Zay Johnson, Holding It Down, JJ Buck with you, Adrian on ProView Networks. When we come back on the other side, we'll dive into the performance side of it. What these teams have to do to get fans to continue to buy in, to show up and show out. 505-246-0610 is the phone number. Email JJ at sportsanimalabq.com. Find me on the X_JJ Buck. It is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
From the award-winning morning show,
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on Networks.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
If you want the real deal, call State Farm agent Marty Size in Albuquerque today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Rudy's is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Blue Bell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chavez, and this is my business partner, David Chavez. We are the owners of Indeed Safety. Indeed Safety is a local safety consulting company helping our clients with their safety needs for their projects.
One of the things we pride ourselves as a construction safety company is helping our men and women in construction get home safe every day to their families. Indeed Safety is a proud supporter of ProView Network.
I might not be in the cage as much anymore. Just like riding a bicycle, I can pick up the fight from where I left off. I'm not some slick-haired outsider posing with borrowed gloves. I grew up here. New Mexico is in my blood. I'm a New Mexican fighting for other New Mexicans. I'm Adam Oki. I'll be your champion in the courtroom.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. For over 20 years, Evergard Roofing and Solar has been committed to customer service. Locally owned and operated, Evergard offers both commercial and residential roofing and solar services. For more info,
Not only do you want to be entertained, but as a fan, you want to win. The future of sports in New Mexico, what does it look like? College athletic landscape has changed dramatically over the last few years. It's here, revenue sharing. Athletes getting paid by the university. So how does the university continue to generate that money? Yes, there's a facility aspect to it, the recruiting, but you got to win. You have to get people interested and invested. So what does that look like moving forward at New Mexico and New Mexico State? What it do? Welcome into the opening drive. It's JJ Buck and Zay Johnson with you this morning. Symbieta Big 12 Media Days this week. Looking forward to the reaction from, I think is going to be a fascinating conference. And we'll get into it probably more tomorrow when Sean Ryder, he's going to drop in studio with us for an hour, beat writer for the Albuquerque Journal when it comes to Lobo football. But I know Devin Dampier transferred to Utah. I think, put it on the list, it could have been the greatest individual season a quarterback has ever had at the University of New Mexico last year. And Utah is a conference contender because of the transfer from New Mexico, Devin Dampier. And so Dampier is going to be one of the players that represents Utah. Big 12 Media Days, a lot going on in the conference. So looking forward to talking with Symbieta. He'll be back on Thursday from Big 12 Media Days, but we'll dive into all the Media Day teases over the next couple of weeks. Mountain West Football Media Day is next week, and this is the last hurrah for the conference. And when we talk about the investment, especially from fans, you want to win, you want to be entertained, and you want to spend your money on a winning product. And for basketball, it's, can Eric Olin knight this fan base, get their trust in 1 year, heading into what is going to be a completely different Mountain West Conference.
Also speaking of Louisville quarterbacks, Ned James actually sent me this screenshot last night, where I don't know if you knew this already or maybe you knew this, but I guess he was the first NCAA Division I quarterback to pass for over 400 and rush for over 100 in the same game after the integration era, post 1972.
Ned James had some phenomenal games as a Louisville quarterback.
406 passing yards and 118 rushing yards against Wyoming, October 11th, 1986.
And we'll get Ned in here. He's out of town this month, but I was talking with him. I think he sent that to a lot of people yesterday. It was one of those, if you didn't know, now you know.
He got it too.
You best believe that I could sling that.
Oh, yeah.
And I was a dual threat. That's our boy Ned James, of course, former Louisville quarterback. He hangs out with us a ton right here on the Sports Animal, but also my co-host when it comes to the Louisville football studio work. And, when it comes to Louisville football, it's a Jason Eck era. And down at New Mexico State, Jason Hooten, men's basketball, Tony Sanchez, football. They're going through an 80 searches. Dr. Amber Burge is going to continue as their athletic director. So there's all these moving pieces in athletics, but it comes down to success and getting those fan bases to buy in. And especially for the teams in the new look Mountain West, that bar drops a little bit. And when it comes to football, basketball, it's going to be a little bit tougher to get to the NCAA tournament, even if you feel it's going to be a lesser conference basketball-wise. But does that mean, could you be a 2-bid league? Are you going to be a 1-bid league for a little bit, even with Grand Canyon, New Mexico, UNLV, expectations of them there, Nevada. So you still have those teams, but what the Mountain West was able to do basketball-wise, it was special over the last few years. And the only conferences over the last 10 years, outside of the high major conferences, so the power conferences in basketball, the only conferences to earn at least 3 at-large bids in the past 10 years. The Mountain West has done it 4 years in a row. And you go back to 2015 and 16, it was the American Conference. So the Mountain West made its mark, made its hay with at-large bids in the NCAA tournament. And that is really hard to do, even in the 68-team field, because that's still a tournament that is dominated by the power conferences. But you look at this season and what Eric Olin has to do. This is going to be a fun year, I think, for football and basketball, just because there's an extra. Now that we see 2026 Pac State Conference, it's coming. We know, all right, that's the finish line for the Mountain West Conference as we know it. It's been phenomenal for basketball. It's been a lot of fun over the last few years. So it amps up the intensity. Those rivalries are going to be just that much more for the teams that aren't going to be playing each other regularly anymore. New Mexico versus San Diego State. New Mexico versus Boise State. New Mexico versus Utah State. And for Eric Olin, he has to continue to generate that buzz, get people involved, because Richard Pitino raised that bar back up. And people don't want to drop that bar, even with 100% turnover on the roster and the coaching staff. And that's the next step. We can talk about investment that's needed, what the state should do for college athletics in this new era where it is so much about being able to generate revenue. Where's that revenue going to come from? Are you going to have enough to put into what you need for student athletes to be successful when it comes to facilities, when, well, that money has to go directly to the student athletes now, and the revenue sharing to compete. And that's the question of, all right, what can Jason Eck and Eric Olin do this year to where it keeps you excited in the new Mountain West Conference? I think really basketball is at a point, especially in this community, even with the down years, but there's always that hope. There will always be people wanting to come back and fill the pit and support Lobo basketball. So even in a new look Mountain West, I think the expectations are, well, we are the Lobos. And as Lobo fans, you're going to be like, well, we're going to look at this new look Mountain West, and we're going to be that team year in, year out at the top. For football, is that an opportunity for them to be more consistent when you're not playing a Boise State, Colorado State, teams that have had your number quite some time. Utah State, Fresno State, all in the Pac-State Conference. But that's the biggest question is, what kind of momentum can you build this year to carry into the new look Mountain West Conference? Because there's just going to be a lot of, I don't know. What are the expectations going to be? Well, we know that. It's competed at the highest level. But in terms of how the conference is going to shape out, what those other teams are going to look like in the conference, how competitive it's going to be, especially on the basketball side, to keep that momentum going. 505-246-0610. So the future of sports in New Mexico is going to be a theme that we have throughout this morning. With the United Stadium moving forward at Balloon Fiesta Park, with UNM announcing their entertainment / restaurant area that they want to bring to University, Avenida Cesar Chavez.
Duck Pond.
Just need a place to chill sometimes. Have a coffee, have an energy drink, take a nap after class.
Man. I thought there was a catch or something. And I was like, wait, it's literally just a pond for ducks and there's a discussion about it?
No one's having a discussion.
Okay. As long as it's not an issue. It's not like there's frogs ruining the ecosystem or something.
It's not a big issue for the rest of us.
Okay.
But the things that matter, the things that will get you out there, I'm just really interested as a sports fan in the state of New Mexico with what we have, what we're seeing moving forward. What do you want to see prioritized? What do you want to see from the state or individual investments from United, the funding that they're putting in to their stadium, a hockey team coming out to Rio Rancho to have a AA hockey team anchoring that community? Can they ignite fans out there? And then at times draw from Albuquerque. It's really a fun and fascinating time right now for sports because so many times we just take a step back and go, where are we going and why is nothing happening? Well, a whole lot is happening right now. And as a sports fan, you're going to have a multitude of options and also new options over the coming years to enjoy in the state of New Mexico. 505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline. No text line just quite yet. Still working on that migration to a brand new platform for us. So no text, just calls, emails, jj@sportsanimалabq.com, and of course on the X_JJ Buck. When we come back on the other side, we're going pro with it. A big time extension was signed, and the power structure of the Eastern Conference 15 years ago today, it shifted because that man made the decision. But now it's all about the young guns in the Eastern Conference. We'll get into that next. It's the opening drive here on The Sports Animal.
This report is brought to you by Chili Traditions. Come smell.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit HansWhitlerAuto.com. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com. High school sports are back. You can watch every ProView Network broadcast online on the NFHS network. Every moment from every game from every sport, including all NMAA state championship games. Get your monthly pass now. Just go to ProViewNetworks.com, click on the NFHS logo, and sign up today. Watch New Mexico's best.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros all your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
Got shots? Got shots? Got shots?
During Got Shots, participating providers open their doors for any child who presents for immunizations, regardless of whether they are a patient or whether they have insurance.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Bluebell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gala Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies.
15 years ago today, that man took his talents to South Beach. LeBron James, the decision, and what it meant at the time for sports, entertainment, the drama surrounding it. But the shift in Eastern Conference this year, well, Achilles snapping affects that, and then the young guns, it's time for them to rise and take over. 505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline and text line. JJ Buck, Zay Johnson with you this morning, and one of the themes we're really getting into is the future of sports in New Mexico. Of course, yesterday with the judge that rejected the 3 neighborhood associations' plea that they were denied due process when it comes to United moving forward with their stadium project at Balloon Fiesta Park. So that is a go. And we're going to see New Mexico United get their stadium at Balloon Fiesta Park. Of course, the project that was announced a couple weeks ago about redoing an area, University Avenue, Cesar Chavez, the land that's down there, bringing in some shops, some restaurants, up the entertainment surrounding Lobo events, and then, of course, there at Isopes Park, and the future of college athletics. 505-246-0610. Chad, you're on the opening drive. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, JJ? Yeah, just in regards to the football and particularly the basketball, I think Coach X, he's facing some challenges coming into New Mexico, but it's a bit of an uphill battle, but I think he's coming in with the right attitude and right spirit, and he's saying all the right things, and he's showing commitment, and that's where it starts. And I'm really interested to see how all these guys that come from a mentality of success, a lot of these, a lot of the recruits are from, say, FCS schools, not all, but a lot of them come from winning traditions, and maybe that is more important than having a guy, the size and the, so to speak, your chance to be a winner. So I think when you're a winner, too, tickets sell, and that might lead to, I think what we all know, the football team is you getting an upgrade in the stadium, which could attract beyond just football, could attract concerts in the area that normally don't usually pass through New Mexico. It could be something that it could be an easier sell now to upgrade the stadium. That's been overdue for a while. As far as the basketball goes, I feel like I love it. I'm so psyched about what's going on with Coach Olin, and I like these two European players that came over, and excited to see just this mix of this kind of positionless basketball, how that plays out. He seems like he knows what he's doing, and we have some shooters. We have an awesome point guard who can really create some penetration and attract attention, so he can kick it out. And then, I don't know, it's exciting, and I think you're right. I think Pitino set the stage for the expectations, and whatever happens with the Mountain West going forward, for sure. I mean, I can definitely see on the basketball side, for sure, that the expectations are people to get to the tournament. We're good. We filled that pit, 15,000 people. So, it'd be nice to see, what Coach F can do on the football side. I'm excited. I think he's doing all the right things. So.
All right, Chad, appreciate the phone call, man. He got in 505-246-0610, and that's what you got to do. It's win, draw people in, but then the investment, too, that's needed from the powers at be, continuing to have those conversations, investing in the right things when it comes to a football stadium that does need upgrades. And a lot of people will say, well, don't invest in that football stadium and the football team's not winning. Again, multiple things can happen, but this is a fun year because it's the last year of in-conference rivalries with San Diego State, Utah State, Boise State on the basketball court. Football is interesting because they feel, to Chad's point, and I know Jeff Symbieta has talked about this and heard it from some of the coaches too, that they got players that were successful at FCS programs, maybe successful at quote-unquote lower D1 institutions. And so when they came to Albuquerque and they go to that weight room and they look at that indoor practice facility, the UNM landscape to them, they're like, wow, I haven't had this. And so many people are looking that have been here, done that at New Mexico, going, oh, well, that stadium's not good and you do this or that. Well, one of the things that Eck did when it came to his coaching staff, when it comes to a lot of the players he brought in, was they walk in there and they're like, wow, you got an indoor practice facility? Wait, we got 2 weight rooms to use? I get what now when it comes to food and revenue, etc.? And so that is a fascinating thing when it just comes to football specifically, about that mentality and the fact that they're buying into that this is what they have. A lot of these players didn't have facilities like this.
And the high school athletes love Coach Eck.
Yeah.
Just when I have talked to them and I've asked them, number one, where would you rather play? If you had the opportunity to play for the Lobos, would you? And they say that they like Coach Eck. They like what he's building. So, yeah, they move them forward. That's a good thing you can do. Also, if you get guys that are hometown kids, they will be a lot less likely to just leave for money.
Well, I'm not too sure about that. But it
depends on how
if
much.
you're successful, and this, if Eck is getting players that are good enough to be a Devin Dampier, which that wasn't a Bronco Mendenhall creation. That was Danny Gonzalez and Brian Vincent. Devin Dampier. And yeah, Devin Dampier had his best season with Bronco Mendenhall as head coach. Then he moves on. But if you're able to get successful players that ultimately move on, that's par for the course now. It doesn't matter if you're New Mexico, if you're Texas, etc. Like, good players are going to have options. Now, you might not have as many resources to keep those good players around, but if you're developing good players, developing good coaches, that's all you want, man. Like, and people don't want to hear it, but it's, if Jason Eck gets a job, it's not, oh, here we go again. It's, oh my goodness, we had a coach good enough at one football games to get a job somewhere else. That's awesome. That doesn't happen. It's just like weird thing people have when it comes to Lobo Athletics. Like, oh, coaches just use this as a stepping stone. That would be awesome because it'd be success. Like, Bronco Mendenhall was gone no matter what. Like, last year was not why Bronco Mendenhall got the Utah State job. It's everything he did before last season. But coach having success would be awesome. I don't want to talk about necessarily these guys leaving, but, to your point, building a level of success for athletes, for coaches to stick around at the University of New Mexico. And that investment level, that winning, all the stuff that goes into it, it's the future of sports in New Mexico. We have some breaking news when it comes to the Mountain West Conference and what it's going to look like next season. Not in 2026 with the Pac State Conference and Mountain West, next year for the Mountain West Conference. We will hit that next. It is the opening drive right here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
This report is sponsored by Straight Talk Wireless.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks. Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Sweet Rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All in Autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com. Rudy's is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
If you want the real deal, call State Farm agent Marty Size in Albuquerque today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
across the state of New Mexico, different journeys will begin. And when their journeys unite, together will become one experience. Our campuses across New Mexico in Portales, Roswell, and Ruidoso come together to provide you the support as one family. We are one family that share one goal, one opportunity at a time. We are One Eastern.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com. High school sports are back. You can watch every ProView Network broadcast online on the NFHS network. Every moment from every game from every sport.
We're sitting here talking about the future, but the Mountain West is going to look a little different this season. Breaking news. So LeBron James, the decision, the Eastern Conference, going to have to wait a second. We'll get there. It's about the Mountain West. It's about the future of sports in New Mexico. JJ Bucksay Johnson with you. Adrian holding it down on ProView Networks this morning. The Mountain West has finalized an agreement with Grand Canyon for the school to join the league this fall. So a year earlier than anticipated. Sources have told Yahoo Sports Ross Dellinger dropping that news within the last 30 minutes. So Grand Canyon left the WAC for the West Coast Conference, but then accepted a bid to the Mountain West Conference. So they are not going to play in the West Coast Conference at all because they're going to go directly from the WAC to Mountain West. And there was a chance that Grand Canyon wasn't going to have a conference to play in and be in limbo with the WAC losing so many members and going away. The West Coast Conference shifting through their changes. Gonzaga going to be in the Pac State Conference in 2026. So Grand Canyon was kind of left out there and not sure what was going to happen. But 5 members departing the Mountain West Conference, who they gave their formal notice last month that they were exiting. The mediation sessions are still going on between the conference and departing members over the exit fees. It is, because as of now, there's not a resolution when it comes to that. But what we do know is road trip to Phoenix. It'll be interesting to see if that's a flight or a plane ride. It might hop on Southwest and go out to Phoenix, but you got Grand Canyon on the schedule. And so Grand Canyon will join the Mountain West as an all-sports member, of course, except football, this season. So that's going to be interesting to see what that does with the conference schedule, because they're at a point where you're playing, a 20-game conference schedule. There's 11 members. You're playing everyone twice. So now you're going to have to skip some people. You're going to play certain teams once. How they work Grand Canyon into that rotation, but it's here. So the Mountain West, when it comes to basketball, it's going to be a 12-team conference this year, and Grand Canyon is going to join the league a year earlier than anticipated. Of course, Grand Canyon in Phoenix, the enrollment with everything is over 100,000, online, etc. But a private institution, we've seen home games, good student section, plenty of money invested in basketball, and they've also been pretty strong in women's basketball, have other good Olympic sports that they're adding to the table. And, Grand Canyon is one of those teams, looking forward 2026 and beyond for the Mountain West that is going to need to anchor men's basketball.
They've had some tournament appearances.
Yeah, they've gone to the NCAA tournament. There's, of course, a lot of money invested in that institution. They make a lot of money as a private institution, but you're looking at Grand Canyon, UNLV, New Mexico, throwing Nevada in there with their successes. All right, these teams, can you anchor a conference and still be a multi-bid league. Now, I don't think you're going to reach this ceiling that the Mountain West showed. And again, you looking back, the only conferences outside of the high major conferences, power conferences in men's basketball, with at least 3 at-large bids. So that's 3 plus the automatic bid. So at least 4 teams in the past 10 years going to the NCAA tournament. Mountain West has done it 4 years in a row. American did it in 2015 and 2016. So you're looking at Grand Canyon coming in this year, mixing them into the schedule, and then they're going to have to be an anchor on the basketball side, and you hope UNM is that with UNLV and Nevada, and see who can really rise to the occasion in a new look Mountain West Conference. Well, there's some news on the future, as we've been discussing it all morning long. 505-246-0610 with a lot of news over the last couple weeks. Of course, yesterday a judge struck down the protest from 3 neighborhood associations surrounding Balloon Fiesta Park, which will now allow New Mexico United to move forward with their stadium project at this site. United will invest a minimum of at least $30 million into the site. Now, the city, of course, with leasing land to United, then the infrastructure is putting some money into the project, and it's still an area where the city should invest money into when it comes to parking, roads in and out around it. It still hosts concerts and the Balloon Fiesta, regardless of if the stadium is there or not right now. So it's an area that you want to see investment going to, but now that is coming along with a stadium for New Mexico United. Of course, the project has been discussing kind of the retail restaurants that UNM is looking to put or have investors buy into the land around the pit in University Stadium. Of course, that area, you saw the old Motel 8 was bought out and bulldozed, opening up more air around there. And it's an exciting time for the future of sports in New Mexico. Now, the movement, the Mountain West Conference, Grand Canyon coming in this season, what's going to look like in 2026. That regard, it comes down to when and are you in as a fan? Because, this all stems around revenue generation. So there's all right, what are you investing? All right, well, you see, all right, United, they're investing in the stadium, Balloon Fiesta Park, New Mexico, doing some land and business investment. How will that trickle over to their sports? The investment in coaches, money shared with student athletes, trying to win on the field. A ton of stuff to get into. We'll be joined by Jeff Grammer at 8:15. I wanted to get his thoughts on the stadium project and sports in New Mexico moving forward with so many things right now, and with the Lobos and Aggies looking at their new look conferences. There was changes to Conference USA with new teams joining that. So the Aggies, when you look at what Jason Newton men's basketball, Tony Sanchez of football have to do to compete with their peers and do what they can down in Cruces, generate as much buzz as possible for Aggie fans to buy in there. What the Lobos have to do moving forward in the new look Mountain West Conference, and then the other projects that are going on from United and the stadium. How you feeling about having a brand new stadium in Albuquerque, and then what is next? Because I don't know how many years we've talked about it. It was a big time April Fool's joke a long time ago right here in the Sports Animal. They got me doing an arena announcement like, oh yeah, the arena's coming, boom, boom, just April Fool's. But what does Albuquerque need when it comes to sports entertainment? Are we at a place now where let's see what happens with the stadium, infrastructure around Balloon Fiesta Park, see what kind of investment can come in to Division I athletics in the state, or should we be looking at a city arena? 505-246-0610. How you feeling about the future of athletics in the state of New Mexico? That's going to be a theme that we continue throughout the morning. Grand Canyon joining the Mountain West this season in all sports, of course, except football. We'll also talk with Josh Shushan this morning, coming up at 9 o'clock as the Isotopes start a roadie at Round Rock. But I want to get Josh Shushan's thoughts on the All-Star game, which is right around the corner, because he is a man that knows his baseball. He knows how to tell the story of the game. I have some questions for Josh Shushan when it comes to the Midsummer Classic. We'll talk with Josh at 9. Jeff Kramer at 8:15. Zay Johnson, JJ Buck with you. It is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports App.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. High school sports are back. You can watch every ProView Network broadcast online on the NFHS network. Every moment from every game from every sport, including all NMAA state championship games. Get your monthly pass now. Just go to ProViewNetworks.com, click on the NFHS logo, and sign up today. Watch New Mexico's best.
I'm a Blaze King customer, and I have been for the last 10 years. Blaze King stoves are very efficient, they're easy to maintain, and they use a lot less wood than you would typically use with a fireplace.
Blaze King, that's a fire.
The heat is on when it's a Blaze King wood stove, controlling heat up to 40 hours on a single load of wood with a built-in thermostat. See for yourself at either Blaze King showroom, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Blaze King, and now that's a fire.
We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Bluebell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. For over 20 years, Evergard Roofing and Solar has been committed to customer service. Locally owned and operated, Evergard offers both commercial and residential roofing and solar services. For more info, please call 505-821-9543. Evergard Roofing and Solar are proud supporters of ProView Sports Network and New Mexico Youth Athletics.
I might not be in the cage as much anymore. Just like riding a bicycle, I can pick up the fight from where I left off. I'm not some slick-haired outsider posing with borrowed gloves. I grew up here. New Mexico is in my blood. I'm a New Mexican fighting for other New Mexicans. I'm Adam Oki. I'll be your champion in the courtroom.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chavez, and this is my business partner, David Chavez. We are the owners of Indeed Safety. Indeed Safety is a local safety consulting company helping our clients with their safety needs for their projects.
One of the things we pride ourselves as a construction safety company is helping our men and women in construction get home safe every day to their families. Indeed Safety is a proud supporter of ProView Network.
Got shots? Got shots? Got shots?
During Got Shots, participating providers open their doors for any child who presents for immunizations, regardless of whether they are a patient or whether they have insurance.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gallus Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All in Autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
TurboThreads is a proud sponsor of ProView Networks.
Almost 30 years of experience means fast service, great prices, and a wide selection of apparel from t-shirts to performance sports shirts, even jackets and hats. They feature low minimums and no setup charges on most orders. TurboThreads is located at 1503 Golf Course Road in Rio Rancho, or find them on Facebook, online at turbothreads.com, or call 999-1234 for TurboThreads.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Home for sports talk in the Duke City. Now it's the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the sports animal. Here's Jeff Symbieta and JJ Buck.
New stadium on the way for New Mexico United. New member of the Mountain West Conference. Now, we knew they were coming. However, they're coming early. You best get out the cot. Maybe the futon laid out for them, because Grand Canyon is going to need a place to sleep as they're joining the Mountain West Conference this season, getting in the mix, the final year of the Mountain West Conference as we know it, as it has been formed into what has become the best of the rest, especially when it comes to men's basketball. We have seen that play out over the last 4 seasons, the last hurrah for football. Of course, Boise State coming off a CFP appearance. What do they have in store as it's a new era of college athletics at the University of New Mexico, with Eric Olin and Jason Eck leading the way with basketball and football. 505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline. Text line still not quite ready to go. They've been sending texts. I'm like, why are these guys not reading it? Well, because we don't have that text line up yet. So give us a call, or you can hit us up on X _JJ Buck, always right there, or JJ at sportsanimалabq.com. Now, we're talking about the future of sports in New Mexico. How you feeling as a sports fan? The options you have as a sports fan. Well, just so be it, our man Jeff Symbieta sent me this story that he got, and it was just released this morning. It is from Smile Hub, and it rates the best states for sports and sports fans. So fits in perfectly with the conversation we're having. Now, what did Smile Hub do? Well, they compared the 50 states across the country in key 3 demographics: sports interest and success, sports careers and income, and then access to sports. That's pretty much what we've been talking about this morning.
Yeah.
So where do you think New Mexico ranks when it comes to best states for sports lovers?
35.
Okay. 48.
Okay.
So when you look at New Mexico, it's fewest sports and recreation charities per capita. They're at 46. Fewest sports-related jobs, they're dead last, 50. So,
wow. So we're lucky, huh?
Yeah. I think there's a reason that you've been stuck with me at Humanist Media for 18 years. You're finding that out this morning. Oh, you can't get rid of me. You're like, this son of a... He's on the radio again? Where's Jeff Symbieta? Sorry, he's not here. He's back Thursday. So, New Mexico, it's 48th. You understand that, the lack of professional sports.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's the fewest sports and recreation charities. It feels like that would be a lot bigger in the state of New Mexico. With weather, climate, people playing sports. I see it all weekend long. Basketball, flag football leagues. That's popping. So I was a little surprised by that, given how outdoors we are in the state of New Mexico. But Smile Hub's ranking of the best states for sports lovers, and we're 48. Do you feel 48? Do you feel that way? Sports fans in New Mexico? Do you feel like you're that far down the list? That's why I was really excited to dive into this topic this morning. I had no idea that we are going to get this list forwarded to us by...
I thought you said 40. It's 48.
48.
Oh, my
48.
goodness.
48 out of 50.
Ah.
And do you have that vibe? Do you have that feeling? And I can understand how it feels that way. And when it feels like so many projects never happen or pushed on the back burner. But yet, we saw yesterday one project moving forward. We know the land investment that UNM has done. And again, I keep talking about it, but this is a big part of it because it's about opening up avenues and what happens around sports. Right? And this is best states for sports lovers. So what are we talking about? And it's sports. It's access to sports is number 3. Well, interest and success. Well, with that comes, all right, what are you interested in? What are you going to? Yeah, you want to win. We've talked about that, trying to build these programs up at the Division I level, New Mexico State, and of course the highest level college athletics that we have in the state. Well, from that, sports careers and income. Yeah, this is probably directly talking about sports, but surrounding it, right? The investment in a financial or restaurants around those areas. Things like that. But do you feel 48 out of 50 New Mexico sports fans? Because I was buzzing a little bit this morning. I'm excited about what the future holds. The stadium project moving forward, because to me, that is the right location. I understand the initial concerns from neighbors. Anytime there's an extra influx in your neighborhood, even when you live by Balloon Fiesta Park, but all of a sudden it's not just a few concerts throughout the summer and then the Balloon Fiesta. It's like, okay, there's 16 to 20 more dates on the calendar where there's going to be a soccer game that night, and it's going to be a little extra busy. So I understand that initial reaction, but I like the placement for the stadium, the area, working on getting in and out. They get a lot more people in and out for the Balloon Fiesta, and it takes a lot longer. But we're talking 8 to 10,000 people. In terms of what it's looking like seating-wise, probably be some standing room, etc. So maybe get up to 12. Not sure what the final number is going to look like. But coming in, I like that area for United. I think that's a good spot for the stadium, and then the flow, getting back to the east side, getting to different areas of the city, coming out from Balloon Fiesta Park. And then kind of where you can go, where you can hop to pregame, and then whatever you want to do postgame. I do like it. It's a lot better than what they tried to shove on the ballot with the mayor back in 2021. There's a reason the city said heck no to that plan. It wasn't a good plan. It happened too fast. They just tried to pull one over on everyone, and no one got fooled by that. And so they took a step back, looking at different options. I like this moving forward. And now, the future of athletics in New Mexico, you're looking at, all right, there's a stadium coming. Should see more built up, more to do around the pit in University Stadium and Isopes Park. Rio Rancho trying to get back into the game with the AA hockey team that will be a tenant at the Rio Rancho Event Center starting next fall. And I'm excited to see how they try to bring Rio Rancho along with them. Because that has to be Rio Rancho's team. And then draw from Albuquerque. Like, this can't be one where you need Albuquerque to keep New Mexico Pro Hockey going. You want to get them to go to the game? Absolutely. But when we look at the growth of Rio Rancho and the amount of neighborhoods and people out living out there and Albuquerque, this is a time where you got to ignite Rio Rancho. And that has to be the main fan base for that hockey team. And then if it's good, it's fun, got an exciting product, which I'm expecting it to be. The Scorpions weren't quite this level, but they were so much fun. They went from Tingley, built their base here, went out to Rio Rancho, and we'll see what happens. We've seen that happen twice with franchises, from the Scorpions to the Gladiators. Like, that is the venue that is perfect for that right now. AA hockey, Rio Rancho Event Center. But you got to ignite Rio Rancho. got to get them to get on board. And then that's how you start taking steps forward as a sports state. Where you got multiple things going on. Yeah, guess what? At times there's going to be a basketball game and something going on at Pope Joy Hall. At times there's going to be a baseball game and a United Soccer game going on at the same time. There's going to be a hockey game going on. Oh, and then your cousin's going to be playing a high school football game. Like, it's what happens in life. Multiple things are going on. The fact that we're starting to get that ice pick into the ice and claw forward, I like it. I want to see New Mexico climb up this list. Sports entertainment. It's a business we're in, but it's also one that can impact so many people. Because it really, when you think of it, outside of concerts, concert season, especially the second half, it's going to be rocking out there as Letta. I know I got my list of concerts I'm going to. What else can bring that many people together? What else fires you up? It's sports. And for New Mexico, right now, on Smile Hub, in terms of best states for sports lovers, with 48, y'all. But do you feel like we can start taking a step forward? 505-246-0610. We'll talk with Jeff Grammer about this and much, much more on the other side of his opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Across the state of New Mexico, different journeys will begin. And when their journeys unite, together will become one experience. Our campuses across New Mexico in Portales, Boswell, and Ruidoso come together to provide you the support as one family. We are one family that share one goal, one opportunity at a time. We are One Eastern.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit HansWhitlerAuto.com.
I'm a Blaze King customer, and I have been for the last 10 years. Blaze King stoves are very efficient, they're easy to maintain, and they use a lot less wood than you would typically use with a fireplace.
Blaze King, that's a fire.
The heat is on when it's a Blaze King wood stove, controlling heat up to 40 hours on a single load of wood with a built-in thermostat. See for yourself at either Blaze King showroom, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Blaze King, and now that's a fire.
We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
I'm David C. Chavez, personal injury attorney. For over 4 decades, our law firm has remained steadfast in our commitment to serving the remarkable people of New Mexico that have been injured through no fault of their own.
Book.
Man, it's moving. It's popping this morning. July 8th, coming in like, oh, what's going to happen? A lot's going to happen. Discussing the future of sports in New Mexico. And the decision about New Mexico United being able to move forward with their stadium project at Balloon Fiesta Park. What UNM is doing, the land surrounding their venues, and looking at the business infrastructure there. And breaking news when it comes to the Mountain West Conference that affects it this season, not next year. Pac State news like this year. Added to the mix. 505-246-0610. Sports Animal Hotline, and joining us this morning, it's JJ Bucksday Johnson and the one, the only, Jeff Grammer from the Albuquerque Journal. What's up, man? How you doing?
Pretty good. What's going on, man?
Not much. It's a whole lot going on this morning. And I want to start off, knew it could happen and kind of heard some of the rumors the last couple weeks, but Ross Dellinger reporting this morning that Grand Canyon is coming in this season to join the final run of the Mountain West as we know it. What do you think that does for the conference this year, especially when it comes to men's basketball?
I mean, I do think it helps, certainly with men's basketball specifically. It certainly helps this year. It's so late in the game, though. It doesn't seem late to fans, right? But, like, July is really late in the game just to be adding a school for a lot of scheduling purposes. So I know there's been a little bit of talk of adding or renewing the twice a year UNM NMSU thing. That's not happening this year, and any sliver of hope that the men's basketball rivalry was going to be twice this year probably is now out the window, because the conference play is going to have to be the regular full slate of 20 games. It's kind of a look, it's a good thing for the Mountain West that Grand Canyon's joining right now, but it's probably not a good thing for a whole lot of coaches who've already started their scheduling, and this kind of puts a little bit of a hindrance into scheduling non-conference-wise for a lot of coaches. I know I've talked with the volleyball coach at UNM a little bit about this. He's already filled up his whole schedule, right? And now to add 2 matches or 2 conference matches, he's going to either have to adjust by dropping some of those non-conference matches, or he's going to basically have to play like Tuesday matches when he was already scheduled for maybe Thursday and a Saturday or something like that. So it's really late in the game. That's why you usually see these 2-year windows for stuff like this, where it's 2 years in advance when the school changes conferences. And this is really going to be difficult, probably more than most fans care about. They're just going to see the end product, and that's all they'll kind of notice. But this is going to be really difficult on a whole lot of schools.
Yeah, especially, with, you mentioned, volleyball, and then just the other Olympic sports that, Grand Canyon is adding to the table. But so with basketball and the 20-game conference schedule, are they just going to try to slide Grand Canyon in there, and then it just means that you only play certain teams once this upcoming season?
Yeah, I don't know. They were really big on the fact that they finally had the balanced schedule for 1 year. Last year was the first time where they didn't have you miss one team on the road, one team at home. I can tell you that, while they're out on their way out the door, the school that absolutely has protested the most the fact that the Mountain West went up to a 20-game schedule, San Diego State, they'd be livid if they have to add 2 more conference games. And go up to a home and home with Grand Canyon, go up to 22 and cut into their non-conference. So I imagine the balance schedule is what's probably going to have to go away. I don't think I imagine what Mountain West is going to do is keep it at 20 games, so whoever has their non-conference schedule basically already done, they can still get that non-conference schedule in, and they're just going to have to go back to, UNM doesn't play at Fresno maybe, or doesn't have a home game against maybe a San Diego State or something like that, which in the final year of its current alignment of the Mountain West, that would really bum some people out. You don't even get that final go-round against one of these teams. So, it's we'll see how that all plays out here in a minute. But, it is an interesting decision to happen into July of the year it's actually happening.
Yeah, I know I wouldn't be too bummed if I didn't have to go to Fresno one more time next year.
Right.
There's a couple that I'm like, hey, not too bad. But, yeah, you want to see, especially I think Utah State, Boise State, San Diego State, at least, twice this year for your Lobo men's basketball fan. Like, you want to go out, the buzz, just the extra that's going to be there, in the final year of the Mountain West Conference as we know it, but Grand Canyon coming in. And, moving forward, though, when you look at the Mountain West, the new look conference, Grand Canyon's going to have to be one of those anchor teams. You look at New Mexico, sure, UNLV and probably Nevada, but carrying the top of the conference, can they come in and be that?
I think in some ways, right? I mean, obviously they don't have the football, but in terms of basketball, they are a team and a program that once you get by whether or not you are a believer in a for-profit college, and there's a lot of schools that did not want Grand Canyon to join their conference because it is a for-profit school. And once you get by that, which is frankly, in the current landscape of NCAA sports, that seems like a really weird thing to me to really be against a school being for-profit when sort of the whole model of this just being all purely about academics has sort of been thrown out the window for a while. This is a business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business, college athletics. So Grand Canyon, as a school, just as a competing school, forget the school model behind it, right? The for-profit or not. As a school, Grand Canyon, or as a competitor, Grand Canyon is a school that is going to make the Mountain West better in a lot of sports, not just men's basketball. So I do think that Grand Canyon is going to be one of the anchor, programs of the new Mountain West. And in terms of men's basketball, they funnel so much money into that program, and it is a hotbed. The Phoenix area has so much, you add all the cities around Phoenix now that are really part of the Phoenix metro area, and you look at how many players are making not just, power conference top, 5-star kind of recruits in basketball, but you look at how many are making Team USA and stuff like that they are a hotbed. So any player who kind of has the notion to stay home, but for whatever reason doesn't want to go to Arizona State or didn't get the Arizona State offer, Grand Canyon's a really good location for them. So I think Grand Canyon right away can be competitive in men's basketball.
Jeff Grammer, Albuquerque Journal, joining us this morning. And one of the things I've been discussing is really just the future of sports in New Mexico. There's been a lot of news over the last couple of weeks, specifically, of course, yesterday with United and the judge's decision to say, hey, the neighborhoods, you guys had your due process. They're able to move forward with this project. Kind of UNM's, what they've been discussing just with the land around the pit and University Stadium, and just, being a sports fan in the state of New Mexico. How do you feel of all the time you've covered sports, growing up watching sports, just kind of New Mexico as a sports state? How do you feel about it?
It's the passion is undeniable. There is a passion of just New Mexicans in general, a chip on your shoulder kind of passion that I think New Mexico has, and when it comes to sports, it certainly shines through. There's a reason. There are little things like a men's basketball program that's never been to the Sweet 16 and yet is top 25 in attendance for 52 of the 56 years I think it's been, or 55 years that the pit's been open. There's a reason its women's basketball team is always in the top 10 or 15 in attendance. The Isotopes haven't had a winning season in 11 years and lead the PCL in attendance. United's attendance has been great. There's a reason for all those things. People do have not just a passion for what is theirs here in New Mexico and the local sports, but they also sort of, I think, are just sort of dying to show the rest of the world, look how good we are at this. Look how good we are at that. And I do think that because of that, there's always some untapped potential in New Mexico for, I know coaches always like to come in and call it the sleeping giant. of a program or something like that. I still think there's some of that. Now, I do think you as a fan and you as just an onlooker of sports in this state need to sort of adjust what you think that might be. I don't think there's ever going to be an MLS program, an MLS team in New Mexico. I don't think there's going to be a pro basketball team, or an NBA level pro team anyway. I don't think those things are going to happen anytime soon. Like, I think it's okay right now to focus on getting right what we have now. I do think that some stadium issues still need to be addressed. I'm glad that United is finally going to get a stadium that we'll see. I mean, they're going on a decade into this whole USL thing, and the USL's probably had about 30 teams come and go in that time, and United still doesn't have its stadium. So I want to see it actually happen at some point, but it's good that this next hurdle has been cleared, and we'll see if it actually happens. But downtown stadium, downtown arena for basketball, I think would multi-purpose, really, not just basketball, but would be really good. I think some fights would be there. I think that's really the one thing missing in what would make Albuquerque a much better, much more competitive with some other cities around the country kind of city is an arena of some sort that can host things like an NCAA tournament round that the Pit cannot and will not host again. And I think concerts and UFC fights and boxing and stuff like that. I think Albuquerque's probably just an arena away from being a really competitive city on that front.
Jeff Graham, Albuquerque Journal, joining us this morning. You got one more segment?
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. Jeff's going to hang with us through this break. We're going to dive into more about, that investment. Where should it come from? Whether it's, into athletics at New Mexico or New Mexico State, and then of course just as a sports fan and the entertainment factor into it. And we're looking at the Smile Hub post this morning that came out, Best States for Sports Lovers, and they did a lot of work. And New Mexico came in number 48. So 48 out of 50 best states for sports lovers. But there's some buzz, there's some excitement around athletics in New Mexico. How does that continue to push forward? We'll talk with Jeff Grammer about that. Next, it is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
This report is brought to you by Sandia Area Federal Credit Union.
I'm a New Mexican fighting for New Mexicans.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Bluebell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gallus Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
I'm a Blaze King customer, and I have been for the last 10 years. Blaze King stoves are very efficient, they're easy to maintain, and they use a lot less wood than you would typically use with a fireplace.
Blaze King, that's a fire.
The heat is on when it's a Blaze King wood stove, controlling heat up to 40 hours on a single load of wood with a built-in thermostat. See for yourself at either Blaze King showroom, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Blaze King, and now that's a fire.
Across the state of New Mexico, different journeys will begin. And when their journeys unite, Together we'll become one experience. Our campuses across New Mexico in Portales, Boswell, and Ruidoso come together to provide you the support as one family. We are one family that share one goal, one opportunity at a time. We are One Eastern.
We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
Rudy's is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
If you want the real deal, call State Farm agent Marty Size in Albuquerque today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
This, why aren't you fixing that? This isn't safe, you should be doing that. Multiple things can happen. Our focus this morning has been on the future of sports. In New Mexico, there's been a lot of news over the last couple weeks with investments into business around athletics or athletics themselves, with the United Stadium moving forward, with what UNM wants to do with the area surrounding their venues. And then what's going to work? What do you want as a sports fan? Sports entertainment in the state of New Mexico, AA hockey going out to Rio Rancho. In Rio Rancho, that city is going to have to rally and be the base for that. You can't just look at, oh, you need to drive from Albuquerque out to Rio Rancho Event Center for hockey to work. No, they got to get Rio Rancho in. And maybe if it's good enough, it's fun, you get some of that crossover from people in Albuquerque that want to go check out the product. But here's the thing. We are big enough, and we have to realize multiple things are going to happen. There's going to be a hockey game going on at the same time there's going to be a basketball game. There's going to be a basketball game, same time something's going on at Pope's Ray. There's going to be a soccer game, same time it's going to be on a baseball game. Cities have it. Big time cities do it. And as a sports fan, you want those options in New Mexico. JJ Bucks A. Johnson with you here on the opening drive, joined by Jeff Grammer, Albuquerque Journal, of course, beat reporter for Lobo basketball. How do you feel about that, Jeff? Just getting to the point of where sports fans might actually have decisions to make about what they want to do, where they're going to go.
I think most sports fans here, the decision is sort of maybe overblown. I think a lot of people that will call into you guys or write in or post on social media to me about, why would these two things be going on at the same time? I think a lot of people that aren't going to sporting events, I shouldn't say a lot, but for some reason, there's a vocal amount of people that, I don't know if it makes them feel good or justify the fact that they don't like going to live sporting events anymore or what, but they like telling you why someone else screwed up and that's why they didn't go to a game, right? And you see that a lot with Lobo football. I don't think a lot of the people that complain about UNM Lobo football were ever going to go to a UNM Lobo football game anyway, but what they like doing is saying it's because UNM scheduled it at this time, or it's because they did this, or because of the stadium, or because of that. I think for some reason a lot of people that aren't ever going to these games anyway are the vocal bunch that likes to tell people somebody else screwed up their experience and that's why they aren't going. When the reality is, I just think that there are some people here in this town that would be willing to go to more Lobo football games if the experience was, maybe a little better or the team was a little better. That's it. I don't think there's any really secret secret sauce to the scheduling or anything like that. I think every other city finds a way to get people to come to their football games when their team is good generally. So I think all that kind of stuff can happen. I do think the future, as you're kind of talking about today, it can be bright, but with when it comes to college athletics, it's all about getting that football team right. And as a guy who covers primarily Lobo basketball and college basketball, it's a little frustrating sometimes to know that no matter how good your college basketball team in your state is, and there's 2 programs in this state that have sort of hung their hat on their college basketball programs in New Mexico State, where I went to school, and UNM, the school I primarily cover. No matter how good their basketball programs are, it just doesn't matter anymore unless football gets right. So they got to invest in football. They just do. And football has to start taking a little bit more responsibility in terms of trying to get right for the whole university. Because I'll tell you what, at NMSU and UNM, the men's and, frankly, the women's a little bit basketball programs have supported the entire athletic department for far too long to expect UNM athletics and NMSU athletics to be as competitive as they've been. It's just not an era anymore where college basketball can support an entire athletic department.
And with that, what, ultimately we can always go back to, well, if you win, they'll come out. But in terms of the investment, and now especially with the revenue sharing, and I was having some discussions with people about some things of like, hey, could we do this or that moving forward? And they're like, well, if we can generate revenue from it, we can do it, right? That's what these universities are looking at. Is it more state investment? Like what's next for, as you really say, these football programs to try to get better?
So, right, where does the investment come from? It has to be a little bit of everything. In the reality is you're one of the poorest states, but you know who else are some of the poorest states? It's in the South where the SEC schools are, and they find a way to make things work out a little bit too, right? So it's not just that New Mexico is one of the poorest states. I do think you have to have a concerted effort from a whole lot of different fronts to invest in athletics here. You do have to convince people that it is worth the investment. I do think the building an area around Isotopes Park, the pit, University Stadium, but building an area around there where you can go have a drink before the game and a dinner before or after the game, and sort of finally developing that land is one of the reasons that the experience in general of going to these athletic events hasn't been what it is in other cities and other states. The experience starts before the game, right? It's not just about tailgating and all that, but like if you go to a real big city, and I don't want to compare Albuquerque and the sports experience to even a Denver necessarily, or a huge city like a Phoenix or a New York or Chicago, but for the sake of this point, let's look at what Wrigley Field is and how many people go to a bar across the street and then go over to the stadium. Let's look at what some of these college towns are, where you can the real successful ones in sports, you can go have a drink, and there's a really well-known sports bar right next to the stadium that people go to, and you hear announcers talk about, oh yeah, after the game we went to touchdowns or coaches or whatever the bar was in that particular town. You need some of that within walking distance of the stadium. And finally, it looks like UNM is developing that land to do some of that. Now, it's going to be retail. I think there's going to be, a Target and stuff like that in there. But let's get some restaurants and some bars in there, too, and you just start exchanging, or you start kind of transforming the experience and the feel in general to be like what a lot more successful cities have been doing for a long time when it comes to their sports.
Do you realize how many people a Target draws in, Jeff? Do you realize the new demographic you're bringing to that area?
I imagine so, but I'll tell you this: I think a lot of them are probably not, running into Target real quick and then going over to the game. But yes, no, I do.
Well, that's why you harass them at the door. You be ringing your bell, your cowbell, ding, 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 local football tickets, ding, ding, ding.
So what do you guys think about this? I feel like a lot of it, right, could also be so simple, especially now with the power of social media and kind of where the focus of these kids is. I brought this up before. What was one of the biggest reasons we even would think of McNeese State for basketball? It's because they had the whole little boom box thing with the kid coming out, like Amir Khan, whatever his name was. I feel like if the Lobos, maybe like for the football version, if there was like a cool turnover chain or some type of tradition that the players had, maybe like at the stadium whenever they score a touchdown, there's like some type of tradition that also improves the experience. Just makes it more enjoyable so that win or lose, even if you are losing, say, 30-0, hopefully that never happens. They score a touchdown, certain boom goes off, siren, you see the celebration with the chain. It just makes it more fun. Like for the Isotopes, I think that's why people like going, because no matter what the score is, there's races in between innings. There's things going on. There's music. There's, the ball game song.
I think there's obviously, in a lot of, to what you just said, that there's a lot of truth to the fact that you have to create traditions to make your program not just good for the fans that are going, but if you want to resonate on a national level, you want people in New Hampshire and in Wyoming and or maybe not Wyoming because they're a league school, but like just in another state, you want them to remember, oh yeah, that's where they do that one thing,
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a whole lot of those traditions, and sometimes they can be gimmicky. Who cares? Gimmicky's okay sometimes.
Yeah, the Pit's got that ramp.
Yeah, just be gimmicky if you have to, and do things that make people remember. The Pit ramp and the Pit has had for over half a century a pretty full house for the most part, and been something that people know about the basketball program. I don't know what people outside of Albuquerque and outside of New Mexico think of the UNM Lobo football team, other than they know that it hasn't been a very successful one in general, right? So I do think you kind of have to come up with some traditions that don't just resonate locally with the fans that are coming to the games, but you got to find some ways to really to get that local culture and local whatever flavor it is to resonate beyond New Mexico, so people remember, oh yeah, that's a New Mexico program where they have the chili race and
maybe something
and like the Isotopes game. So.
Yeah, like chili related. Because when I was in college and junior college, and you would see UNM, there isn't like that number one thing you think of. You kind of have to do the research. Whereas right now, you hear Miami, you think the chain, or something like that.
And I'll tell you, Jeff has it going good with the New Mexico Bowl. With not only has it been a really competitive bowl, but like there's not a whole lot of bowl games, I think, that do as good a job of making sure you know what that bowl is about, like the New Mexico Bowl. They highlight New Mexico like crazy. I think people when they think of the New Mexico Bowl do kind of have an idea that, oh yeah, that's the one that has that really nice the great Native American pottery like trophy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they do think, oh yeah, they always show balloons and chili and that kind of stuff with that bowl game. So the New Mexico Bowl's kind of got it going a little bit. Like you got to start doing those things, start branding your product a little bit better, I think. There were years here, and frankly, it still goes on a little bit, where the football team had a different geez, listen to me, a different uniform, jersey, helmet, decal, and all that every single game, and they kind of still do that. Like, maybe stick to one uniform for a couple of years and let people remember what you even look like from game to game. And they changed the logo so many times in the past 20 years. So things like that, I think, do start to affect. Nobody really has a good identity of what UNM Lobo football is outside of New Mexico.
Yeah, JJ, was it you or Jeff that shot down the idea where I was like, what if the field was like they changed the color like red or something?
Oh, I think that was probably Jeff. That directly affects.
I feel like it would.
He does.
But I feel like that's like Boise State for some time. I know there were some kids who are like, that's the school with the blue field.
Yeah.
Like, let me give them a look.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know that I'll tell you this. I don't know that I like the idea of changing the color, but like something bold like that is what you got to do probably to get a little bit of that attention, a little bit of that traction, so kids who might be thinking about coming to play for your school actually know it beyond you get a recruiting letter and you try and start reading up on that school. Then like you might know it a little bit before you actually open that envelope that says UNM on it,
Well, there you go. What should the football tradition become? We've opened a whole new topic this morning. Jeff, I always appreciate the time, man. Thanks for the insight.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks, guys.
Jeff Grammer, Albuquerque Journal, joining us this morning. Just talking athletics, the future of sports in New Mexico. Of course, the investment that you want to see at the Division I universities, but then the other stuff. As a sports fan, what interests you? What draws you in with the news we've seen over the last couple of weeks? And, what should the tradition be? What can Lobo football do? Yeah, a gimmick, but it catches on. That it gets in that EA Sports college football game, that you make a play, there's a turnover, something happens. Ultimately, yes, you got to win and be successful. But you have to start somewhere. 505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline. It is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
This report is sponsored by...
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
Got shots? Got shots? Got shots?
During Got Shots, participating providers open their doors for any child who presents for immunizations, regardless of whether they are a patient or whether they have insurance.
TurboThreads is a proud sponsor of ProView Networks.
Almost 30 years of experience means fast service, great prices, and a wide selection of apparel from t-shirts to performance sport shirts, even jackets and hats. They feature low minimums and no setup charges on most orders. TurboThreads is located at 1503 Golf Course Road in Rio Rancho, or find them on Facebook, online at turbothreads.com, or call 999-1234 for TurboThreads.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. High school sports are back. You can watch every ProView Network broadcast online on the NFHS network. Every moment from every game from every sport, including all NMAA state championship games. Get your monthly pass now. Just go to ProViewNetworks.com, click on the NFHS logo, and sign up today. Watch New Mexico's best.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot. It's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Blue Bell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
I'm a Blaze King customer, and I have been for the last 10 years. Blaze King stoves are very efficient, they're easy to maintain, and they use a lot less wood than you would typically use with a fireplace.
Blaze King, that's a fire.
The heat is on when it's a Blaze King wood stove, controlling heat up to 40 hours on a single load of wood with a built-in thermostat. See for yourself at either Blaze King showroom, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Blaze King, and now that's a fire.
We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. For over 20 years, Evergard Roofing and Solar has been committed to customer service. Locally owned and operated, Evergard offers both commercial and residential roofing and solar services. For more info, please call 505-821-9543. Evergard Roofing and Solar are proud supporters of ProView Sports Network and New Mexico Youth Athletics. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
I might not be in the cage as much anymore. Just like riding a bicycle, I can pick up the fight from where I left off. I'm not some slick-haired outsider posing with borrowed gloves. I grew up here. New Mexico is in my blood. I'm a New Mexican fighting for other New Mexicans. I'm Adam Oki. I'll be your champion in the courtroom.
Stuff this morning. It's what I've run into get into. As a sports fan in the state of New Mexico, what's it like? What do you want to see invested in? You want to enjoy a winner, but you want to be entertained. There's a process to all of this, even as a fan. If you can make it bigger than just a game, there's more things to do. You can enjoy that. If it's just going to be the game and you go home, yeah, you want those options as well. But again, that's that key word, options. And we're trending towards having more of those options in the state of New Mexico.
Yeah, and not to make it a whole political type of thing, but I know I always hear about child welfare and the ranks of all these things in New Mexico, and sports only enhances that. Me and DC were talking about it over there last week about how much that can help. Just sometimes a coach, more activities, more coaches, whether it's volleyball, basketball, football, getting your kids involved in sports. It keeps them active. It gives them something to do. It teaches them a whole bunch of life lessons you can go down the list of as far as just building, learning how to try again, getting better at things. And the more kids you get involved in sports in New Mexico, maybe those kids will, you'll have a lot of recruits that'll be homegrown.
Yeah, and there's so many areas to this. I just got my son into sports, and just seeing him doing something else is awesome.
The differences.
When it clicks, it clicks. If it doesn't, then we'll find out, what his passions are. But, I want him to be active. I want him to try different things. And, with that, it comes to access. And that's what we're talking about in this Smile Hub
poll
list that was done. Smile Hub put out a list of the best states for sports lovers. And it looked at sports interest and success, sports careers and income, and access to sports. And that's just what you're talking about, access to sport. It doesn't necessarily just mean the Lobos, United, or Isotopes, but the other programs. What do you see in high school athletics? What do you have there recreationally for young kids to get involved in? And New Mexico is 48 out of 50. And I know so many people are tired of being at the bottom of every single list, whether it's education, safety, income. And it's just another one of those things, but an avenue that if you're passionate about it, to put more resources towards it, because this is also a quality of life.
Exactly. It all correlates. There's no way you can just be a kid that's just great at listening to your coach and great at following directions, and then you go into a classroom and you can't listen to a teacher and figure out
No, this is the area where multiple things can happen. It doesn't have to be this or that. It can be kind of attacking the whole process. And so the future of sports in New Mexico, we got some big news over the last couple of weeks with UNM trying to invest more in that sports district, United moving forward with the stadium at Balloon Fiesta Park, and just all that you have as a sports fan in New Mexico. 505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline. For this morning, Josh Shushan, voice of the Isotopes, is going to join us next. Wanted to catch up with Josh ahead of the Midsummer Classic, get his thoughts on All-Stars. Should every team have an All-Star? And, of course, speaking of events, he writes great stories about baseball, but the stuff that brings us together, whether it's fireworks, whether it's big-time events, and get his thoughts on what this means to him as a sports lifer. It's coming up next right here on the Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. High school sports are back. You can watch every ProView Network broadcast online on the NFHS network. Every moment from every game from every sport, including all NMAA state championship games. Get your monthly pass now. Just go to ProViewNetworks.com, click on the NFHS logo, and sign up today. Watch New Mexico's best.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth that's real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Blue Bell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
I'm a Blaze King customer, and I have been for the last 10 years. Blaze King stoves are very efficient, they're easy to maintain, and they use a lot less wood than you would typically use with a fireplace.
Blaze King, that's a fire.
The heat is on when it's a Blaze King wood stove, controlling heat up to 40 hours on a single load of wood with a built-in thermostat. See for yourself at either Blaze King showroom, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Blaze King, and now that's a fire.
We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. For over 20 years, Evergard Roofing and Solar has been committed to customer service. Locally owned and operated, Evergard offers both commercial and residential roofing and solar services. For more info, please call 505-821-9543.
And KNML, the Sports Animal.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery. so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
For more info, please call.
If you could hear Old Spice Fiji Antiperspirant, what would it sound like? First, you'd start with Fiji Antiperspirant's amazing scent of palm trees. Add pure notes of fresh coconut and layer on 24/7 odor and sweat protection. You won't hear any dyes or parabens because with Fiji, you won't have any. So while your regular antiperspirant sounds like this, Old Spice Fiji sounds like this. Sounds like it smells amazing.
Now is the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the sports animal. Here's Jeff Symbieta and JJ Buck.
OD on a Tuesday. Been enjoying the conversation this morning. We're talking about the future of sports in New Mexico. A lot of news over the last couple weeks. Of course, yesterday, the decision by a judge to allow United to move forward with their building of a stadium at Balloon Fiesta Park. UNM has looked at and got some go-aheads to now invest in some infrastructure surrounding the pit and University Stadium and Isotopes Park, and just what the future holds as a sports fan in New Mexico. Options, access, what do you want? And one of the things that we do have, we saw it highlighted on the biggest stage last week, was of course Isotopes baseball. Rio Grande Credit Union Field looked great, as it always does. Sports Center was out there. It was the 4th of July. There was fireworks. There was a drone show. What a week it was. And that's what we're talking about as a sports fan, that entertainment. You look at the Isotopes Standard, last weekend's homestand against El Paso, leading the PCL in average home attendance. They are doing it right. And as a sports fan, that's what you want to see. More things that keep you interested. JJ Bucks, Zay Johnson with you here on the opening drive. Adrian holding it down on ProView Networks. And the Topes are beginning a 6-game series at Round Rock at the Dell Diamond. And I know it's early in the day, but the man himself, the voice of the Isotopes, Josh Shushan, is joining us here on The Sports Animal. Good morning, Josh. How you doing?
Excellent, JJ. Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate it. Just the experience last week, and you've been able to cover and broadcast and experience so much in sports, but to to be able to showcase the Isotopes, Albuquerque, New Mexico, with the Sports Center hit live from the park. 4th of July is always a special day at the ballpark. What was just the last week like?
Man, first of all, it's just a lot of fun. Seeing that many people that were out. There was a part of it that was exhausting, but that's what we do. Having both July 3rd and July 4th is unique. Overwhelmingly, minor league teams get one or the other. And the short version is that El Paso got July 3rd and 4th last year. This year, the Isotopes got July 3rd and 4th. And so to have it in the middle of the week and then do the drone show and the mariachis and the lowrider, and you plan all those things in the off season. What you don't plan is that ESPN contacts you and say, hey, we want to do Sports Center live from your ballpark during this midweek day game. But you look at the numbers, 55,000 for 6 games. I mean, there's probably some single-A teams that will go 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks, without drawing 55,000 fans. And so, just a tip of the cap to New Mexicans for coming out. It wasn't the largest 6-game ever. It was the second largest. But in terms of the quantity of things going on, it just felt like the most that I've ever seen go on in 1 week.
As you said, it's year-round, the work that the Isotopes do, what you guys do to have that park ready throughout the summer. One of the things we've been talking about this morning is kind of the future of sports, in New Mexico, with United looking to get their own stadium, looking at the potential, investment around that area with some shops and restaurants coming in. And just as a sports fan, what do you want to see in the state of New Mexico? How do you feel that now that you've been here for a while working in sports, like New Mexico is just as a sports state?
Well, the main thing is that they just care a lot, right? And they're going to support everybody. The part that was eye-opening to me as a visitor when I first moved to Albuquerque was the way that they supported women's basketball. I mean, look, it's one thing to support a AAA team, to support football and men's basketball or a soccer team, but I know that when I saw the way that they supported women's basketball, that's what told me that, no, they really care about everything here. And that's where they're really putting their money where their mouth is. And then you look at everything. I mean, the bottom line is the state takes immense pride in everything that it does on the field. And Jeff Grammer has fun with this about how New Mexicans cannot attend a sporting event without bringing their state flag, but that goes to show just the pride that they feel in the state and how much they want to let people know about that pride when they go anywhere.
Josh Ushon joining us here on The Sports Animal. Knew that pride with what they have. It is going to the ballpark. It's watching that team. It's enjoying everything that goes on around it. And you look at the Topes right now getting ready to start this series in Round Rock, but there's kind of been all eyes on Zach Bean up and down. But what have the Rockies wanted to see from Bean, and what have you seen from him in kind of the recent resurgence?
Yeah, so it's such an interesting, season with Zach, and this is the ultimate in how, it's just not a linear path for people, right? I mean, drafted out of high school in first round and a ton of hype because of all of that, justified. He's been hurt a ton. We saw him briefly last year. He gets off to such a fantastic start this year. Goes up to the major leagues, really struggles, come back down. He wasn't quite the same guy. I think the reset did him a lot of good. There was an ankle issue that was bothering him. And, sometimes just getting sent back down after being in the major leagues, it can take a psychological toll on somebody. And you start feeling like there's more things that you need to do. And what Zach has done in the last, I guess it's been 2.5 weeks since he came back to us at AAA, is once again just showing who he is, and I think that there's so much more immense pressure on prospects nowadays because there's so much more attention about them. 30 years ago, I don't think that people were, on sports talk radio talking about Franklin Stubbs and Pedro Martinez and what they need to do to get better, and there wasn't like the constant attention on what are they doing, what are they not doing. And, some people are just really well equipped and to shut that off, and others are not so much. And, but I think in Zach's case, he's just so talented that once he just plays, he's at his best, and that's when it's really fun to watch him.
Josh, the Midsummer Classic is right around the corner, and this was a discussion that Jeff and I were having, yesterday, and he, loves the fact that every team is represented, and you still have that pool that, as a fan, it doesn't matter what your team is doing. If you turn on the All-Star game, you could see your guy there. And of course, the Rockies, the connection, Hunter Goodman, who's having an excellent offensive season. He got selected, and every team is represented. Do you like that aspect with the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, and that they have to have at least one player from every team?
I do. Yeah, I do like it. But what I do not like is this emphasis over the last 20 years that everybody has to play. I don't think that just because you're there, you have to play. I think that managers should take it a whole lot more seriously. I think that more pitchers should go 2 innings. I think the starters should not depart after the 5th inning. It should not be where you play half the game and this reserve plays half the game. I think that Shohei Ohtani should play the entire 9 innings. Like 4 at-bats is fine. It's not going to ruin him. At minimum, he needs to get 3 at-bats. I want to see most of the starters get 3 at-bats. I want the stars to be the stars. Too often you get to the end of a Major League Baseball All-Star game, and the people who are on the field, most common fans don't know who they are. And you're just like, okay, well, this guy won MVP because he got a hit in the 8th inning, and it was a low-scoring game, and it's just kind of an anonymous person. So I like that they're there, but I want the stars to play most of the game. And, I don't want a participation trophy for everybody to get on the field. Just, let the stars play as long as it makes sense.
Is that one where you just have to say, hey, this is the All-Star Game, it's a big stage, like, get over it? Because I think so many times we've seen, and it's the evolution of all sports, that, yes, it's an exhibition game, but there's not a lot of passion to it anymore. We've seen football, they play flag football. The All-Star Game, it was like 250 to 260 these days. Does it just kind of come down to one of these leagues is going to have to be like, just, guys, you're professionals. This is an All-Star Game. Just, like, go play.
Yeah, this is definitely going to make me sound like an old man, but I remember when there was an All-Star Game in Baltimore, and Cito Gaston was the manager of the Blue Jays, and Mike Mussina was, like, the guy, the pitcher for the Orioles, and he did not pitch in the game. And there was already kind of a rivalry between the Blue Jays and the Orioles, and that kind of ratcheted up another, degree that Mussina did not pitch. And from that point on, there became like this thought that, well, everybody should play. And, I've even heard managers say, the goal is to get everybody in the game. And look, when it's football or basketball, you can do that because you can keep substituting guys in and out, and you can put the best guys in. You can put Steph Curry back in the 4th quarter to close it out. You can't do that in baseball. Or maybe baseball just needs to relax the rules, and, I think they call it like the golden ticket idea of that you can bring Shohei Ohtani off the bench in the 9th inning even if he's already left. I think that you just have to understand that people are going to care as much about the game as the players care about it. And, like, it's fun when the guys are mic'd up, but I don't want it to, like, where everybody's mic'd up constantly. You got to find a way to make the players want to care, And, again, this is showing me as, like, an even older old man. But, Pete Rose famously would be right at the front of the National League clubhouse greeting people and saying, we're going to win. Like, we win. We beat the American League. And that's back when the two leagues, there was, like, a huge difference between the pitcher batting, the pitcher not batting. And, there was no interleague back then. And so it really did matter who won. And now that there's interleague every single night, like, there's just a blurring of the lines between the two leagues. And, like, that's just the reality. You see all these guys all the time. But, again, I think it just comes back to let the stars play longer than they're currently playing, and then let's see what type of competitiveness comes from there.
Isotopes at Round Rock, 6-game road series starts tonight. You take over at 6 o'clock Mountain Time?
Let's see. I think it's 6:15 is first pitch, so yeah, I'll probably start at 5:55. I think it's when we'll do the pregame show.
All right, 5:55. Josh Ushon takes over right here on the Sports Animal. Always appreciate the conversation, man. Enjoy your time in Round Rock.
All right, thanks for having me on, JJ.
Josh Ushon, voice of the Isotopes. They got a 6-game roadie before the All-Star break, and then a quick 3-game homestand starting back up July 19th against Reno. 505-246-0610. Sports Animal Hotline this morning. JJ Bucks, A. Johnson with you here on the Sports Animal.
Listen to 95.9.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Across the state of New Mexico, different journeys will begin. And when their journeys unite, together will become one experience. Our campuses across New Mexico in Portales, Roswell, and Ruidoso come together to provide you the support as one family. We are one family that share one goal, one opportunity at a time. We are One Eastern.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
We aren't all born with the same opportunities. But it's the people who care that change everything.
Get ready, Spout, get ready!
My coach. My teacher. My older sisters. My grandma. My brother. My tutor. My dad and my mom.
As New Mexicans, it's up to all of us to do our part.
So that no child goes without love.
And no family has to do it all on their own.
They're all our children. Every single person is called to make a difference in the life of a child.
It's up to all of us to do our part.
To pull together.
Pull together.
Pull together.
To make New Mexico the best place to be a kid.
I'm David C. Chavez, personal injury attorney. For over 4 decades, our law firm has remained steadfast in our commitment to serving the remarkable people of New Mexico that have been injured through no fault of their own. I'm a New Mexican fighting for New Mexicans. I received my bachelor's degree at NMSU and earned my law degree at UNM. I can proudly say I'm both an Aggie and a Lobo. Call now and I will meet with you. 40 years strong, and we're still as local as red and green.
ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit HansWhitlerAuto.com.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All in Autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. TurboThreads is a proud sponsor of ProView Networks.
Almost 30 years of experience means fast service, great prices, and a wide selection of apparel from t-shirts to performance sports shirts, even jackets and hats. They feature low minimums and no setup charges on most orders. TurboThreads is located at 1503 Golf Course Road in Rio Rancho, or find them on Facebook, online at turbothreads.com, or call 999-1234 for TurboThreads.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com. High school sports are back.
All-Star game right around the corner. Dodgers struggling. Yamamoto gets the All-Star nod, and then he has his worst start. Milwaukee 9-1 win over the Dodgers yesterday, and that's after Houston swept the Dodgers in LA over the weekend. Long season, we know the Dodgers are going to be fine. Still plenty of All-Star starters for the Dodgers. But you look ahead to the Midsummer Classic final week. Before a little break for everyone, so start a 6-game roadie at Round Rock tonight. You can hear that game right here on The Sports Animal. JJ Buck, Zay Johnson with you. 505-246-0610 is the Sports Animal hotline. And Fred has used that. Fred, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, JJ. Hey, ditto to what that Josh said about the All-Stars. Everything he said I agree with. I love baseball a lot, so anyway... But anyway, I want to congratulate New Mexico United. Anybody that can average 10,000 people a game deserves to have a professional team here in Albuquerque, and they need a field of their own. I'll tell you, the guy that's the happiest guy of all, and I know he won't admit it, will be John Traub. Having his home field back again. I don't know who's paying for the $40,000 or $50,000 to change that field over every year. I don't know if it's the city or United, but anyway, John would be happy to just see baseball there, and so will I. It wasn't fair, but I agree that it worked out, and it's going to work out for probably another couple of years. Hey, the reason I called it was something kind of the first time it's ever happened in the Big 12 is they're not going to have a preseason media poll in the Big 12, and the reason why I wanted to tell you why, because no one's discussed this, but in the Big 12 last year, it wasn't just the last year, but it was mainly the last year, they picked to win the whole thing Utah. Utah was 2-7. They picked Arizona State to come in last. Arizona State came in first. They picked Iowa State to come in second. They picked them to come in 11th. They came in second. BYU was picked 13th. BYU came in third, and then Colorado was picked sixth, and they came in fourth. I thought that was kind of funny, and they said that they felt like there was kind of like disrespect for the league because they were so wrong in picking who's going to win and who's going to lose. But I thought that's the first time they won't have a preseason poll. And I know I saw an early season preseason poll for the Mountain West, and I thought I'd just real quick tell you what it is. Boise State 1, San Jose 2, UNLV 3, Air Force 4, Colorado State 5, Fresno State 6, Hawaii 7, Nevada 8, Utah State 9, Wyoming 10, and of course our Lobos 11. And it's so hard with what do we have, JJ? Like 40 or 50 new players.
Yeah, that's
why it's kind of.
That's what I mean, Fred. I appreciate the call, man. And here's the thing with preseason polls. Conferences like to put them out. I know you're just discussing the Big 12 doesn't want to do that. It's preseason fodder. It's great for discussion. It's great for fans. But the problem is people can't get over preseason polls. It's just an opinion. You need to let your eyes tell you what's up. But when you have a preseason poll, that sets expectations. Even if it's unrealistic expectations, because as Fred pointed out, we don't know, right? You could have a team that has 50 new players, you picked 11th, and they end up being 6th. And you're like, oh, you got that so wrong. No, it's a preseason poll has zero bearing on the season, but yet...
It's good board material.
Yeah, but yet the way that we consume media, we let preseason polls decide whether a team has a good season or not. Like, oh, you were picked 3rd in the preseason poll and you finished 7th. Well, maybe they were never anywhere near a top 3 team, but you just had some random opinion on a preseason vote, and thus, that's what you think.
That Florida State one was kind of extreme, though.
Oh, yeah. And then when they the bottom completely fell out.
Yeah, that one. Okay, outside of that one.
But I think it's hard to separate that.
Mm-hmm.
Is, hey, preseason polls are fun. It's fodder. But it is all a guessing game. But yet sometimes people get so caught up on a preseason poll of, oh, you were ranked the 12th team in the country. What happened? You're only 30. Well, maybe they were never in a top 15 team, but you just assume that because of preseason polls. But it's a balance, and you got to be able to talk your way through it. And I think, our standpoint, our fan standpoints, like you said, you want that.
Yeah, and if you're on a team, if you're on a team and it's negative, you're going to take it because in that mode, you're going to take any type of motivation. I mean, you see even the greats, LeBron and Tom Brady, would just walk out and find somebody to get irritated about in the crowd. But then if you're also voted first, then that's when coaches are like, ignore it, means nothing. Like, don't even look at it. Disregard that.
Yeah, it's that's things that whatever you need to do to motivate you, that's what preseason polls are about. But kind of Fred's point, it's not the point of, well, we can't have preseason polls, you got it wrong. It's never going to be right. It's a guess. And with roster turnover in college athletics, it's going to be just bigger and bigger guesses with all these teams.
Mm-hmm.
But it's preseason fodder, but then you have to be able to navigate your way through that. And when you get 3, 4, 5 weeks into the season, what are your eyes telling you about said teams at that point in time?
Yeah, especially nowadays. I mean, preseason polls, I bet they have a lot, I wouldn't say less credibility, but I feel like you have to look at them different just because the transfer portal and has changed everything. But now it's really hard because you can look at individual players and what they did, but you don't know how guys are going to mesh. Like, you don't know how guys are going to mesh. You don't know how they're going to merge together as a team. Whereas beforehand, maybe if there was 8 of the 11 stars returning, then that preseason guess is a little bit more accurate, or at least I would assume so.
Now, what the Big 12 did do, as Big 12 Media Days are going on right now in Frisco, Texas, that's where Mr. Jeff Symbieta is. Of course, this Southern New Mexico Bowl hosted TCU last year, and Jeff is still trying to build that relationship with the Big 12 because there's a lot of teams that would make sense to play a bowl game in Albuquerque from the Big 12, and you're looking at Arizona State or Baylor, Utah, BYU, been there before, of course, Colorado. So it makes sense for the Southern New Mexico to have a relationship with the Big 12 and the football footprint. But speaking of whether it's preseason or postseason recognition, how impactful UNM has been on the Big 12. You had JT Toppin go to Texas Tech, get paid, become the Big 12 Player of the Year. The conference newcomer of the year is Devin Dampier. Now the Utah quarterback, a transfer from New Mexico. So the Lobos have had a major impact on the Big 12 when it comes to men's basketball, and I'm expecting football. I think that Devin Dampier puts Utah in the running to win the Big 12.
Okay.
Yeah, you have Arizona State.
Is that a hot take?
I don't think it's a hot. I think Devin Dampier is that good. But you have Arizona State bringing back Sam Levitt and that team that went to the college football playoff. I know Kansas State has some good preseason odds to win the Big 12. But what can change everything? A dynamic, dual threat quarterback that I believe that Devin Dampier can play at that level.
I'm on board with you, 100%. Now, I would say, is that necessarily is it something where if you're UNM, do you find it a good thing? Do you mind that? Is that something that starts to become a sore wound? Oh, another guy to to the Big 12, or is it kind of go into like, okay, well, we're just happy that guys are able? Because do you want to view it as like they're taking a step up by leaving your conference? I understand school maybe, but if it's conference to conference, is that kind of like do we want to keep just aiding at it? Is that going to dissolve the Mountain West quicker?
And I don't know if there's an overwhelming feel on that.
Okay.
Because I know when we were discussing this a little bit earlier this week, we had some people saying, no, I supported JT Toppin, appreciate it. I think there's that element of, man, he was ours, and just how good he was, we knew it. But then there's the what if. That's what you're left with. What if? And I know that was such a big thing. Even with the success basketball had last year, winning an NCAA tournament game, what they did, how good they were throughout the season. But then there's just that always, I don't think it's you're upset because you understand it. Even if you don't like it, you understand why a player would take $1 million plus NIL deal to go to Texas Tech. 'Cause apparently, all of a sudden, Texas Tech has all the money in the world. We just talked about that softball pitcher for a couple months, and then they signed the number one offensive tackle recruit in the country. Like, Texas Tech just all of a sudden swooped in and says, we got cash for days.
Sounds like a Mahomes thing, which he might have his fingerprints on it.
Mahomes,
behind closed doors.
Revenue sharing, man.
Is that even? Money. That's not even like against any rules if you just decide to do that, is it?
No.
Yeah, there's no type of like backdooring under the table that has to go on.
It can just be an NIL deal.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's supposed to go through a clearinghouse and stuff now, but
okay.
Anyway, you understand what happens. You might not like what happens, but I think what you're left with is just that feeling of like, what if, right? Oh, what could have been?
Yeah.
Oh, what if JT Toppin was still there with Nelly Jr. Joseph and Donovan in last year? Would that team have gone on a run? And then you could look at, oh man, if Devin Dampier was able to stick around, could the Lobos make a push in football? There's going to be that what if, but man, UNM is contributing in a big way to the Big 12 right now. 505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline this morning. You can hit us up _JJ Buck on the X. JJ at sportsanimалabq.com is the email. It is Opening Drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal.
Listen to 95.9 FM and AM 610, The Sports Animal for your...
You can watch every ProView Network broadcast online on the NFHS Network. Every moment from every game from every sport, including all NMAA state championship games. Get your monthly pass now. Just go to ProViewNetworks.com, click on the NFHS logo, and sign up today. Watch New Mexico's best. We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gallus Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Mir here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team's going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space. And you can be part of it. You make my heart better. Try this shit better than all my intentions. Locked in shorty, you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
We aren't all born with the same opportunities. But as the people who care that change everything.
Get ready, Sprout, get ready.
My coach. My teacher. My older sisters. My grandma. My brother. My tutor. My dad and my mom.
As New Mexicans, it's up to all of us to do our part.
So that no child goes without love.
And no family has to do it all on their own.
They're all our children. Every single person is called to make a difference in the life of a child.
It's up to all of us to do our part.
To pull together.
Pull together.
Pull together.
To make New Mexico the best place to be a kid.
I'm a Blaze King customer, and I have been for the last 10 years. Blaze King stoves are very efficient, they're easy to maintain, and they use a lot less wood than you would typically use with a fireplace.
Blaze King, that's a fire.
The heat is on when it's a Blaze King wood stove, controlling heat up to 40 hours on a single load of wood with a built-in thermostat. See for yourself at either Blaze King showroom, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Blaze King, and now that's a fire.
We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
These days, it's important to know people and businesses you can trust. There's a lot of places where you can buy a vehicle, but there's only a few local dealerships where you'll find honest people who have your best interests in mind. And Fiesta Kia is one of them. We've been helping our neighbors save money and drive dependable cars for years, and we'd love to help you. With new Kias arriving daily, you'll love our selection and the peace of mind you'll get driving a Kia from Fiesta.
No, 15 years ago, he took us down to South Beach. Ruffled a bunch of feathers, why people don't like LeBron James. He had a decision to tell the world where he's going to play basketball. And then they had a pep rally. The NBA team had a pep rally, and he said, not 5, not 6, not 7. Yeah, he didn't get there. Now, he got you in the NBA Finals a lot. Didn't win them all. But the decision shifted power in the Eastern Conference. Now, with LeBron in LA, final couple years of his career, what's next? Not just for LeBron, but the decisions of teams. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the sports animal. It's going to be a new look. Eastern Conference next year, and unfortunately, it's because of Achilles injuries. Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton, Damian Lillard. His Achilles changed the trajectory of the Milwaukee Bucks. They waived him. Now it's Giannis and Miles Turner, the duo you're buying into. So 3 major injuries that will shift the balance of power in the Eastern Conference. I still expect the Cleveland Cavaliers to run it back and be a good team. And they made a nice move to fill the guard position because they knew they were going to lose a shooter in Ty Jerome, who was really good last season. They lost him in free agency, and they brought in Triple B, big baller brand, Lonzo Ball, who at this point in his career able to overcome the major injuries that he had. And he missed the entire 2022, 23, and 23-24 campaigns because of a left knee injury. He's still only 27 years old.
Yeah.
But for him to come back and be a quality role player and now be in a winning franchise with Cleveland, like, that's good for Lonzo. And he's worked on his shot. And the Cavaliers, all right, Donovan Mitchell, Lonzo Ball, Garland, Mobley, Allen, that team still going to be legit. We expect the New York Knicks to be good. Now, Mike Brown coming in, and they're trying to sell the championship pedigree. Leon Rose, the president of the Knicks, announcing the hiring of Mike Brown, said, quote, Mike has coached on the biggest stages in our sport and brings championship pedigree to our organization. And the fact he was an assistant coach with 4 championships. But Mike Brown has done it, man. He brought Kings to the postseason in 2023, which was their first postseason appearance since 2006.
Yeah.
Coach of the year. He coached in Cleveland. So I don't think Mike Brown is a bad coach.
I think he's a great fit for that situation because there's only Number one, there's just like they can say you can't simulate a game when you're in practice. You can't simulate or even mimic, no matter how hard you try, the feeling of being LeBron James' coach over the course of a season when they are one of the best teams in the league. So with the Knicks coming off of going to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in how many years, it's probably the most pressure a coach could have outside of being the coach of a LeBron James-led team that's got championship expectations. Because you got the New York Knicks, their fan base, everything that comes with it, and now they have expectation. Now they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they got the farthest they've been in years, and their coach gets fired after. So now if he does not make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, it's immediately looked at as a failure, and people are going to be chirping about Tibbs. I think he's a good coach that's built for that.
That's a good point. Now, to me, Cavs, Knicks, in the top three, who's that third team going to be? I'm looking at the Orlando Magic, man. I think it's their time to shine. The Desmond Bane trade was huge, but then they also re-upped Paolo Banchero, 5-year, $239 million rookie contract extension. It could be worth up to $287 million if he hits some escalators like All-NBA, MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, things like that. But the Magic re-signing Paolo Banchero, he's coming off 25.9 points, 7.5 boards, 4.8 assists. We know he is one of those franchise fixtures. He can be a guy you play through. He can buy guy that can lead you in scoring, do a little bit of everything. And all of a sudden, you see the development of Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs to come back, and Desmond Bane was absolutely worth the first-round picks. I know people lose their mind and go, what, 4 first-round picks? Yeah, their window's now. They're not worried about drafting dudes late in the first round in the next 2 or 3 years. They say, hey, we hit on our lottery picks in Banchero and Wagner. Felt we got good guards in the draft in Suggs. And now you use your future assets to bring in an established player in Desmond Bane who can absolutely be a good number 2 or a great number 3. In the Eastern Conference, you have the Cavs and the Knicks that have the experience, been there, done that, should be atop the conference. But when you look at the other young teams coming forward, the Pacers are going to take a step back. Halliburton, they announced yesterday, he's missing the entire season. So are they going to be competitive with Siakam and Naismith and Nembhard? Sure. But that's not a team I think can go on another conference finals run. It was fantastic what they did the last 2 years. Milwaukee with Giannis is interesting because they're going to be competitive. But, what kind of boost do you get from Miles Turner, who you went in with over $100 million contract for him to be the number 2. Now, the Pistons, they didn't do splash moves, but they got shooters. Duncan Robinson, Sean and Cade Cunningham with more shooting. I think it keeps them still in that 6 to 7 mix. And then people loving the Atlanta Hawks. And going out, getting Kristaps Porzingis, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Trae Young, again, shooters. So I think the Hawks and the Heat, landing Norman Powell. So it's Norman Powell, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo. Those are teams that could probably slide up with teams like the Pacers sliding down.
Mm-hmm.
The Celtics, not going to win 60 games.
No, not 60.
Yeah,
but I think they're...
And, of course, moving off Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford and Drew Holiday, and a resetting for when Tatum comes back.
Yeah, I do think they're better equipped for this situation than a lot of us think. I think they got some guys that are still sneaky good, but there's no way they'll win near 60.
So top 3 team. I think the Orlando Magic will be a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference next season.
Oh, wow. Love it.
505-246-06. And who'd you say was on one again? Sorry.
We got Ben.
Ben, you're on the opening drive. What's going on, man?
Yeah, thank you for taking my call. I was just calling in regards to the Knicks coaching fiasco. I actually think they were thinking they were going to be able to get Jason Kidd, and when that went out the window, they were kind of stuck, so they went after Mike Brown. But this has James Dolan written all over it, and Leon Rose is just going to be taking the fall. But using the excuse that Mike Brown has won 4 championships as an assistant. Tom Thibodeau was an assistant coach under Doc Rivers on the 2008 Celtics team. So I don't know where that makes no sense at all. Tom Thibodeau was an assistant coach with the Celtics when they won the title under Doc Rivers. So thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, that is definitely a spin doctor if there ever was one, because we know they called on Jason Kidd. We know they called on Ime Udoka. They called on Chris Finch. And all those franchises were like, no, we're not letting you talk to our coach. Our coach doesn't want to leave to just go coach the Knicks because it's Madison Square Garden and it's New York and everyone's going to drool over it. No. Yeah, so given the fact you're looking at maybe option 4 or 5, it's not bad when it's Mike Brown. But I didn't think, Tibbs was the problem to begin with. But, that's what happens. You have an owner sitting in on exit meetings, and James Dolan has kind of stayed out of the way the last few years. And it's why, you look at the Knicks and you're like, oh, wow, they've made some pretty nice moves. Paying Jalen Brunson worked out. The acquisitions, Josh Hart, Kel Bridges. How do you feel, Karl Anthony Towns, like he's a successful player that works because you're looking at him as maybe a number 2 or potentially a number 3 in that situation, and I'm fine with that.
If you can get Cat as number 3, you're in a great situation. Yeah. That's like, would you compare him to Chris Bosh on the Big 3? He made it a little better. I think he might.
Yeah, I think it's
close.
Is Bridges good enough to be a consistent number 2? Like that starting 5 is solid. Now it came down to the fact that they felt that they played those guys too many minutes, and they were complaining whether it was Hart or Bridges, who Bridges led the league in minutes played. Someone's going to have to.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to play or not play? Like, if you're not playing or not starting, you're upset, and if your coach plays you too much, you're like, bro, I can't do this. Like, what do you want?
That's always the funniest thing to see on a team. Is you see just you get a mixture of the guy who's playing too much and then the guy that's not getting any reps. Like as a starter, getting off the field, and you're just like, gosh, coach is supposed to give me some reps. And then you got guys sitting over there that haven't played, and they get angry. They're like, what do you mean? Like, at least you're getting reps. Yeah. It's like, okay, too much of anything can be bad.
The Eastern Conference is going to be switched up. Now, injuries are a big factor. And we talked about the 3 Achilles injuries. You've got Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton, and then Dame Lillard, because the Dame Lillard situation, of course, changes where Milwaukee was going. They tried to go all in with that duo because the NBA is about duos and then building around it now. The Big 3 era, you just can't do that anymore. You can't afford it. You can't do that and expect to be consistent. Phoenix just showed you that. When they're like, oh, it's Booker, Bill, KD. That didn't work. We see teams that necessarily don't have 3 max guys, but look at the Denver Nuggets, the challenges that they ran into, and then needing to move off Michael Porter Jr. and free up some of that space. So it's like, all right, you have Jokic and Murray. All right, well, I can have Gordon and Cam Johnson and invest in the bench. So it's about duo basketball.
Someone's got to be probably outplaying their contract. Like, not to be a biased Laker fan, but for a little minute there, I really believe that it was Reeves, Luka, and LeBron. Reeves did disappear in the playoffs, but during the regular season for a little period. But then again, even in that situation, he's due for his money. So, like, somebody will always be due for the money. I think rather than a duo, I think the best formula would be OKC's. Get your top head of the snake and then, like, maybe 3 really good guys.
The problem is it's going to be a duo because you're going to have to decide, are you giving max extension to Jalen Williams or Chet Holmgren? It's not going to be both. Because Shea's getting almost, $300 million.
Are those guys, you think they're max worthy?
Williams and Holmgren? Absolutely. That's what happens, man.
Like Jalen, I think when Jaylen Brown got his, I think Jaylen Brown did more when they won their championship than me. I mean, I don't know.
I would take Williams.
Williams, yeah. You could put the max on Williams. Holmgren, no way.
Yeah, I don't see it yet. But why OKC is because, they landed Williams and Holmgren in that same draft. And so those dudes fell in rookie deals. This past offseason, they go out, able to drop $80 million on Hartenstein, who was really good, and role kind of wasn't there in the finals. But he was an impactful player. And, of course, Alex Caruso trade.
Williams has been here that long? Since Holmgren got in?
They were drafted in the same draft.
Wow. Yeah, I think of Caruso, hopefully if Lonzo can stay healthy, that's what Lonzo is supposed to be. It's pretty much, I think, a spitting image of Caruso.
The fact that Alex Caruso, we're saying that, is crazy.
Yeah, at this point in Lonzo's career, yeah. Get to Caruso. If you can be a Caruso, Cleveland would be the favorites.
They have the makings to be number 1 seed again, but now they got to get it done in the postseason. 505-246-0610. Zay Johnson, JJ Buck, Adrian Hold down on ProView. It is the opening drive here on the Sports Animal.
This is Bart. We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Across the state of New Mexico, different journeys will begin. And when their journeys unite, Together, we'll become one experience. Our campuses across New Mexico in Portales, Roswell, and Ruidoso come together to provide you the support as one family. We are one family that share one goal, one opportunity at a time. We are One Eastern.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Bluebell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gallus Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
I'd like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. For over 20 years, Evergard Roofing and Solar has been committed to customer service. Locally owned and operated, Evergard offers both commercial and residential roofing and solar services. For more info, please call 505-821-9543. Evergard Roofing and Solar are proud supporters of ProView Sports Network and New Mexico Youth Athletics. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
OKC's going to run it back. Be really good, but we know the trend in the NBA. It's a new champ. 7 straight different NBA champions. Now, of course, you've had your the Lakers and the Celtics and the Warriors, so it's not new teams winning a championship, but 7 different champs. And you had the Nuggets in there. You had OKC. You had the Toronto Raptors. So the Houston Rockets.
I think they're done. I think right now I'm taking them over OKC.
Could be that team, and I would take that bet with you. Just because of the trend of the league. It's hard not to get back to the conference finals or even the NBA finals, but play at that level year in and year out. We haven't seen that in a while.
I think it's like, how bad does KD want to win it? Like, how, because he's one of those guys where I feel like I don't want him to trap himself. And we've all met this guy where he's like, he's too insecure to try.
Do you feel that Kevin Durant is not a champion?
I think
because he won it with the Warriors.
Yeah, I think he is, but I think he's going to trap himself in that position where you get that guy that never wants to try his best because he doesn't want people to judge his best, so he just always kind of like, nonchalant. I could do that if I wanted to. Well, if I wanted to do that, still I could. But if you go try your best and then you get clowned, then it really gets to you. And I don't think he's at that point, but I think that doorway is along the path where he could accidentally fall into that mix.
Think that Kevin Durant is not playing up to his potential?
Yes. Every single night. If we go off like every night, yes, I think there are definitely nights where he's like, I think it could be maybe during the game and the timeout, he's like, man, this game's over. You know how Kobe gets criticized for like the second half versus Suns or the fourth quarter he just didn't shoot? I think KD's got a little bit of that in him.
Okay. And then you look at this Rockets team where there's enough of a foundation. It's not KD come and save us. It's
Exactly.
like KD just help us take that next step.
Mm-hmm. But if he does get in that go mode, then that could put them way over the top. But I think even him just being baseline KD, they're still level.
What they were able to do, you keep your in the 7-team trade that it ended up being to keep your foundation and just lose Jalen Green. You're like, that's fine because you got Amin Thompson and Sengun there, and you look at Fred VanVleet. Solid. This is a really good situation for Kevin Durant, and I think the Rockets were going to be able to pull it off and not move as many pieces. Actually, not lose like the pieces that would make you feel like they wouldn't be a contender. But that foundation is there, and that's a really interesting take on Kevin Durant. And I expect him to be locked in here because this is one where he's an elevator, not a savior.
Yeah,
and going into the Rockets and. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's a dude that chirps. He's on social media.
Exactly. That's what really fuels a lot of this. Yeah. And I think his initial reaction, he's like, "Oh, they wanted me gone." I think that could maybe get that old KD out. But last year in Phoenix, I don't think he cared when they lost.
I can see that. Now, that was a situation that so much hype going in. You're like, okay, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and then Bradley Beal is your number 3. And that went nowhere fast. But that was showing you that I was on record talking about the playoffs. And it was really like, when you look at these teams like the Knicks and the Nuggets, and I thought I think at times we can talk about depth too much, but where it is you can't be just top heavy. I don't necessarily think every team is going to be able to have 8, 9, 10 guys that contribute constantly. But what you're seeing is the 3-man model that doesn't work.
Yeah,
that just doesn't work in this NBA because the depth of talent across the board mitigates what you might have with 3 good teams.
What I like what OKC did is they did it in a different way. Like when you think back to when LeBron did go to Miami, that version of building the bench the best way you could with top heavy was like you get a bunch of veterans.
Yeah.
All right, go get guys in vet minimums. But like with OKC, they had a bunch of guys that were young and just were playing above.
It was great development.
Yeah, they were playing ahead of schedule.
Like they were able to land like a young piece, but they knew they were going to build around, right? And that was Shea Gilgeous-Alexander when they made the Paul George trade. They were patient enough to let the draft picks play out, and you were able to get Chet Holmgren 2. Now, he essentially had a redshirt season because he didn't play that first year, but then you get Jalen Williams, number 12 in the same draft.
Yeah.
And then rookie contracts allow you to make moves like that. The NBA, it's been a fun offseason. When you have 7 different champs in 7 years, it opens the door. We got plenty more to talk about when it comes to hoops, scoops, and alley-oops across the board, whether it's Lobo basketball or the NBA. Appreciate Jeff Grammer for joining us this morning, talking just about the future of sports in New Mexico with all the news surrounding United Stadium, business projects surrounding UNM, and much more. I also want to thank Josh Shushan, voice of the Tokes. He takes over tonight. We got Colin Coward coming up next. Jim Rumpall's that 2 men on. Takes over at 4 o'clock. So I appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
Hang out more tomorrow. Adrian, thank you on ProView. Everybody, Meta World, peace and love. Have a great day.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Across the state of New Mexico, different journeys will begin. And when their journeys unite, together will become one experience. Our campuses across New Mexico in Portales, Roswell, and Ruidoso come together to provide you the support as one family. We are one family that share one goal, one opportunity at a time. We are One Eastern.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
I'm a Blaze King customer, and I have been for the last 10 years. Blaze King stoves are very efficient, they're easy to maintain, and they use a lot less wood than you would typically use with a fireplace.
Blaze King, that's a fire.
The heat is on when it's a Blaze King wood stove, controlling heat up to 40 hours on a single load of wood with a built-in thermostat. See for yourself at either Blaze King showroom, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Blaze King, and now that's a fire.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gallus Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chavez, and this is my business partner, David Chavez. We are the owners of Indeed Safety. Indeed Safety is a local safety consulting company helping our clients with their safety needs for their projects.
One of the things we pride ourselves as a construction safety company is helping our men and women in construction get home safe every day to their families. Indeed Safety is a proud supporter of ProView Network.
ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit hanswhitlerauto.com.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep. All your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on